Shephard confessed he was in the midst of a midlife crisis during his stint on The Masked Singer. The 51-year-old television host participated in the recent series of the musical game show, performing as Conkers and finishing second to winner Keisha Buchanan's Moth. The presenter of ITV's This Morning and The Summit, Ben disclosed that the show provided him with an outlet during a challenging period of his life, joking it was far superior to buying a speedy car. Fans of the show couldn't believe that the presenter was disguised on the series, as he appeared on the judging panel when he wasn't performing. For the latest TV and showbiz gossip, sign up to our newsletter. Speaking to the Daily Mail, he said, "Essentially participating in The Masked Singer, I found myself smack dab in the middle of a midlife crisis. However, instead of splurging on a flashy car, I chose to don a splendid Conkers costume. I had a plethora of songs and lyrics to memorize. I'd wake up in the wee hours, attempt to use the loo, but would have to mentally sing the song thrice before I could proceed. Oh, it was incredibly stressful. I barely slept. It was relentless, yet fantastic simultaneously. It was this bizarre contrast of an exhilarating high post-performance and the dread of preparing even more for the following day, since we filmed every other day." Ben further revealed that turning 50 last year was a significant landmark for him, prompting him to challenge himself to adopt a healthier lifestyle. He continued, "I celebrated my 50th birthday last year and set myself a physical challenge about how I would approach the next phase of my life. The reality is, I probably have less time ahead of me than I have already lived, and I want to make sure every single one of those days I live to the most extreme it can possibly be. Whether that is being with my family, at work, being out and about on adventures, and how you look and how you feel is very important. I have kept it up, but I'm not quite as strict on the drinking as I was, and I certainly allow myself to have more sugar now than when he first set out on his healthy eating journey." He concluded, "Hopefully me doing it, that bloke off the TV that everyone wakes up with, if I can do it, why can't anybody else?" For years, Shephard has been a constant presence in British living rooms. Calm, affable, and endlessly reassuring, he is the familiar face who helps viewers ease into their mornings on ITV, a broadcaster synonymous with comfort television. Yet behind the polished professionalism and warm on-screen smile, Ben admits he recently found himself grappling with something far more personal, a full-blown midlife crisis. Rather than succumbing to the stereotypical trappings of that phrase, flashy sports cars, impulsive decisions, or radical lifestyle overhauls, Ben chose a far more unexpected route. He stepped into one of the most surreal, demanding, and secretive shows on British television, The Masked Singer. When the latest series of The Masked Singer aired, few suspected that one of ITV's most recognizable presenters was hiding in plain sight. Disguised as the character Conkers, Ben sang, danced, and performed his way through the competition, all while continuing his day job, sometimes even appearing on the judging panel when he wasn't performing. It was a revelation that left fans stunned when his identity was finally unmasked. "Essentially participating in The Masked Singer, I found myself smack dab in the middle of a midlife crisis," Ben later confessed in an interview with the Daily Mail. The admission was delivered with his trademark humor, but beneath the joke lay something deeper and more resonant. Instead of splurging on a speedy car, as he put it, Ben opted to don a towering Conkers costume and throw himself into an experience that was equal parts terrifying and exhilarating. The glamorous performances viewers see on screen barely hint at the intensity behind the scenes. For Ben, the show became an all-consuming challenge. "I had a plethora of songs and lyrics to memorize," he revealed. "I'd wake up in the wee hours, attempt to use the loo, but would have to mentally sing the song 3 times before I could proceed." The schedule was relentless. Filming took place every other day, leaving little time for rest or recovery. Sleep became a luxury, stress a constant companion. Yet paradoxically, Ben describes the experience as relentless yet fantastic simultaneously. There was the euphoric high after each performance, surviving another round, keeping his identity hidden, followed almost immediately by the dread of preparing for the next challenge. It was an emotional roller coaster, but one that offered something he didn't realize he needed, a complete break from routine and expectation. Perhaps the most surreal aspect of Ben's journey was the fact that he was, quite literally, living two lives on the same channel. By day, he was the dependable host of This Morning, chatting effortlessly with guests and co-presenters. By night, he transformed into a singing, dancing woodland character, hiding his identity from colleagues and viewers alike. That duality added another layer of pressure. Maintaining secrecy wasn't just a contractual obligation, it was a psychological challenge. Every casual conversation, every offhand comment, carried the risk of revealing too much. Yet Ben thrived on it. The secrecy, the disguise, and the sheer absurdity of it all allowed him to step outside the confines of his established public persona. For once, he wasn't Ben Shephard the presenter. He was simply Conkers. Ben's journey on the show ended in a dramatic finale, where he finished as runner-up. The crown ultimately went to Keisha Buchanan, performing as the ethereal moth. There was no bitterness in defeat. On the contrary, Ben has spoken warmly about the experience and the talent of his fellow contestants. For him, winning was never the point. The real prize was the process, the challenge, the growth, and the sense of accomplishment that came from pushing himself into unfamiliar territory. Ben's decision to take part in The Masked Singer coincided with another major milestone, his 50th birthday. For many, such birthdays prompt reflection, but for Ben, it sparked action. I celebrated my 50th birthday last year and set myself a physical challenge about how I would approach the next phase of my life, he explained. The realization was stark but honest. Statistically, he likely has less time ahead of him than behind. Rather than viewing that as a reason for regret, Ben saw it as a call to arms. I want to make sure every single one of those days I live to the most extreme it can possibly be. That philosophy extends far beyond work. It shapes how he spends time with his family, how he approaches adventure, and how he takes care of his health. As part of his post, 50 Reset, Ben committed to a healthier lifestyle. Exercise, mindful eating, and cutting back on alcohol became priorities. Like many who embark on such journeys, he admits he hasn't been perfect. I've kept it up, he said, but I'm not quite as strict on the drinking as I was, and I certainly allow myself to have more sugar now. The honesty is refreshing. There's no pretense of superhuman discipline, just a realistic acknowledgement that balance matters. For Ben, health isn't about punishment or deprivation. It's about feeling good enough to fully engage with life. That renewed mindset has spilled into Ben's professional life as well. Beyond This Morning, he has continued to embrace physically and mentally demanding projects, including hosting the summit. Such shows reflect a presenter who isn't content to coast on familiarity. Instead, Ben seems increasingly drawn to experiences that test him, whether that means trekking through extreme landscapes or singing under layers of foam and fabric. Perhaps the most powerful part of Ben's story is how openly he frames it as something ordinary and relatable. He doesn't position himself as an exception or a superhero. Hopefully me doing it, he concluded, that bloke off the TV that everyone wakes up with. If I can do it, why can't anybody else? It's a simple sentiment, but a potent one. In an era where midlife is often portrayed as either a crisis to be feared or a punchline to be mocked, Ben offers an alternative narrative. Reinvention doesn't have to be destructive or dramatic. It can be playful, challenging, and even joyful. In the end, The Masked Singer became more than just a TV show for Ben Shephard. It was a mirror, one that reflected both his anxieties and his resilience. Hidden behind the Conker's costume, he confronted stress, self-doubt, and exhaustion. Yet he also rediscovered adrenaline, courage, and the thrill of stepping into the unknown. Midlife, for Ben, wasn't about loss. It was about recalibration. And if that recalibration involved sleepless nights, forgotten lyrics, and dancing in a giant costume on primetime television, then so be it. Because sometimes the best way to face a crisis is to sing straight through it, mask and all.